Welcome to an arcade showcase. This is my Time Crisis 2 arcade machine. Right, let's run through all of the games that I have for this at this point in time. They are a mix of PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 and Wii games as well. So, the first game that I have here is Time Crisis 1. It is an amazing game. It is the one that popularized the duck or the pedal mechanic, where you use the pedal to pop out of cover to shoot, and as soon as you release the pedal, then you go back into cover and you also reload automatically at that point in time. It is very much one of my favorites, and it is one that is still reasonably priced. It's not ridiculous. I think you can still grab it under 30 Australian. I certainly have seen it for around $20 at markets and things like that as well. So great one to get now. Not sure how long it will stay cheap. The next one that I have here is Time Crisis Project Titan. So the same type of gameplay, except I think it's like a alternative storyline. It's definitely not the same storyline. I'm not sure if I think it's the same character, but it's not a numbered sequel. It has its own thing going with Project Titan. I don't think there's any other Project Titan games. I think that was the only one. I haven't played that one very much at all. I've only tested it, so not sure how good that one is compared to the first. Point Blank 2, I also have on this arcade machine, I actually have some light guns there that I have Point Blank 1 and Point Blank 2 working on. So Point Blank 2 here was one that I picked up and I kept, even though I have it on there. But if I didn't have it on there, then I would definitely have Point Blank 1, 2 and 3. They are creeping up in price, but they are really good games, and they are really good to play with 2 players if you're able to get that 2 gun action going. Yeah, really good games. I think they're sneaking up in price. Gunfighter is another game that uses the pedal mechanic. It is a good game. It is nowhere near as good as Time Crisis games, but there is this Gunfighter, The Legend of Jesse James is the subtitle there. If you're looking for this one online, just a little tip, try it both ways. So try looking for PlayStation 1 or PS1 Gunfighter as one word. If you don't get many hits, then split it up into gun and fighter, 2 words, and see how you go. That one is in Australia, it's creeping up in price. That one I think I paid just under 35 for. Okay, PlayStation 2 games. We start off with Time Crisis 2. That one is the one that I have as the marquee because it is my favorite light gun shooter. So it is a pedal mechanic shooter, and I've shown that on there. The same as number 1, in that you use the pedal to come out of cover, and when you let it go, you go into cover and reload. It is an excellent game. Obviously, if it's my favorite, I think it's an excellent game. It is great because your shots need to be accurate, which I really like in a light gun shooter. Same as number 1. Your shots need to be accurate to be able to hit. You don't have the luxury of things like machine guns and shotguns and things like that in this one. It is you shoot your bullet and they go slow, and you need to make sure that they hit the targets. Time Crisis 3 is where they started to change things up, so it still had the pedal mechanic, but now we're seeing things like machine guns and shotguns and grenade launchers in there. It still does a fairly good job of needing to remain accurate to be able to progress pretty well in the game, but it starts to lose what made Time Crisis 1 and 2 so good, which is that precision shooting. All of a sudden we've got bullets spraying everywhere, or guns with a lot of spread. So not as fun, but it is still a good game. It's definitely one that is worth picking up for the arcade machines. Just don't expect it to play exactly like number 1 and 2. Next game we have is Crisis Zone. It is a spin-off to the Time Crisis series. It is not one that I've played past testing to see if it works, and from what I have read, it has machine guns and scoped guns and things like that. So again, another one that strays from the Time Crisis, I guess the thing that made it really good, which was the precision shooting. So I'm not sure if I'll enjoy that one or not, but being a part of the Time Crisis, I guess the series, it is one that I wanted to have. Virtua Cop Elite Edition. Now this one is a mix, I'm pretty sure. So I think this is a mix of the number 1 and number 2, as in Virtua Cop 1 and Virtua Cop 2 together. It is really good in that it is precision shooting again. So it is that those one-shot hits really count, and it is not one that uses the pedal. So I don't know if I mentioned that one. Crisis Zone does use the pedal. Now we're straying away to games that do not. So Virtua Cop does not use the pedal, but it is very much a game that you should own if you have a light gun arcade setup, or if you just have light gun games in general. Resident Evil Dead Aim is not a good game in my opinion. It is one that you use controls that are on the back of the gun con to move around. So you move your character around and you shoot zombies, and it's got a bit of a storyline from what I remember, and I've only played a little bit of it. It is not a great game. I got it for cheap at an op shop, but it is quite expensive for being a not very good game, just because it's got that Resident Evil name to it. So yeah, buyer beware with that one. Ninja Assault, I hear, is good. It pops up on lots of different kind of those type of hidden gem videos, or on ones that are the best of light gun games on PlayStation 2. That is why I grabbed it, watching some of those videos. I haven't had a good go with that yet. Endgame is another one that pops up on those types of lists, the same as Ninja Assault. Again, another game that I haven't had much of a go at yet. I think it is a cheap game. It is a strange one when you look at it. It doesn't look like a light gun shooter. The back of the cover does a little bit, but definitely one that if you're looking for light gun shooters, it's probably one if the cover popped up you wouldn't necessarily think of light gun shooter when you see that. So one to explore if you're going after a whole bunch of these games. Dino Stalker is a lot like either a Jurassic Park light gun shooter or even a Dino Crisis light gun shooter. You begin with parachuting down onto I think it is an alternate dimension where dinosaurs are, and then go from there. Not sure, I haven't played much of it, not sure if it's very good or not. This one's actually called actually it's Guncom, which is really confusing. This is a Guncon with C-O-N, and this is Guncom, C-O-M, and it's Guncom 2. So I'd never heard of Guncom 1, let alone number 2. But another light gun shooter, so grabbed it. And Vampire Knight is the last one I've got. Namco, you know that it should be a good game if it's got Namco on it as an arcade title. They normally do pretty good arcade titles. So Namco brought us the Time Crisis series. It also brought us Point Blank, and so this one should be quality as well. Haven't had a chance to look at it, but it looks a lot like the House of the Dead games. Right, on to light gun shooters for the Wii. There are a whole bunch of light gun shooters for the Wii. There seem to be more in America than there are in PAL territory, but here's a bunch of the ones that are PAL games. So I'm sure if we can find them here, then you can find them in the US as well, so in the NTSC territory. But if you're like me and you're from a country that uses PAL, then these are all PAL games. Okay, so starting off with Chicken Blaster, not a good game, but one that I sometimes throw on for the kids to have a go at, because it is a PG rated game and you don't need to be good at shooting to be able to do something on there. Not a good game, but I'm glad I have it just for that purpose. Cabela's Big Game Hunter 2010. This one, now I have both 2010 and 2011. Okay. Both of these games contain an arcade element, or an arcade mode, and from what I've played, Dangerous Hunts 2011 is the better one to have. I originally had 2010 and then I found 2011 just this year, and 2011 is the better one to have, but I'm glad I have both. They fit the space of a Big Buck Hunter, which we did not have a release of Big Buck Hunter on the Wii in the PAL territory. I don't know if, say, the US had that, but we didn't get that. We have to make do with these. Next game I have is Wild West Shootout. I've only had a little go at this. It's another one that kids can have a go at, but it is not a very good game. Unfortunately, a lot of the ones that are PG are not much fun. Ironic that the really kiddie ones should be probably the worst of the bunch. So Wild West Shootout, not a great one, but I got that really cheap. Reload is an interesting title in that it is taking, I think they are real guns, I don't know much about guns, but I think they're real, they're based off real guns, and then you take them to a target range. It's interesting that this one has the rating of G. It is one that I would question whether it's a family-friendly game or not. It needs a bit of context, I think. I certainly have talked that one through with my son before playing that one, in terms of some of the content. Nerf N-Strike is one that my elder son, who's 8, has had a go at, and he found that quite tricky. It has a lot of precision elements in it, a lot of target shooting and things like that where you need to be precise, but it's probably one of the better family games. It's just hard, so it's not one where the kids can aim anywhere and still have some fun. It needs to be one where they have a bit of skill. Link's crossbow training is a big one that I guess the first party Nintendo one that came out to show what the Zapper could do. And I think originally it was actually developed with this game in mind, and this is a bit of a showcase. So it is a target shooter mostly. I've played a bit of that and it is good fun and it is super cheap. So one to grab first off, and there's certainly no shortage of Link's crossbow training copies out there. Wii Play has a target shooting element in it, so another one that is cheap and that you can use in these types of machines. And now we get into some quite adult titles. So if you're looking for family-friendly recommendations, they've stopped and we have these ones here. Actually, I might start with this M-rated one at the front. Ghost Squad. It is not one that I've played. I have heard that it is fairly good and that it does light gun games pretty well in the old style. It is a Sega title, and I've heard that it's fairly arcadey, which is good. House of the Dead 2 and 3 Return is great. It is simply House of the Dead 2 and 3 on the same disc. There's not much that is different, I don't think. It's a shame that they didn't have House of the Dead 1. That is an extremely House of the Dead 1 is one of those ones that's disappointing that it didn't come out on home consoles. I think you can get it maybe, is it the Dreamcast that it's on? But in terms of anything that's super popular like the Wii or the PlayStation, it didn't come out. So I'm glad we got number 2 and 3. It would be great to have number 1 on there, but can't have everything. House of the Dead Overkill is kind of like your House of the Dead 4. It is the most violent and the most adult themed House of the Dead. It is not one, some of the old, say House of the Dead 2, it's really quite, I guess you could say it's really quite over the top and it's silly and the voice acting silly. This one is actually really adult type themed, and it's got that type of horror movie silliness to it, but it has really crude language, and so it's not one that you could even play with little ones around anywhere or upstairs, or in the house, because there would be a lot of swearing going on with that one, so something to keep in mind. I haven't played these ones, but these are the more expensive titles that I have for the Wii light gun. So this is Dead Space Extraction. I think it has a storyline. It's a Dead Space spin-off. I don't think it's with the same character that you play in the Dead Space games. I think it's just in the same type of universe. 2 Resident Evil games. Resident Evil Dark Side Chronicles. Again, haven't played that one. And Resident Evil The Umbrella Chronicles. Quite expensive games now, those 2. This one's an expensive one as well. Silent Hill Shattered Memories. I hear that it's very good. It's actually got a Eurogamer score of 9 out of 10 on the front there. Yeah, hear it's very good. Haven't played any of it, so couldn't say. So, hopefully that gives you a bit of a rundown of some Wii titles that you can play on this. Hopefully it gives you some idea of some of the PlayStation 1 titles that will work with a setup like this. There are heaps more PlayStation 1 titles, although I don't have many. There are a lot of ones that can go with this type of setup. And hopefully it gives you a bit of an idea of some PlayStation 2 titles that you can play with this setup as well. Something that I forgot to mention, Gunfighter, The Legend of Jesse James, there is a PlayStation 2 version of, or a PlayStation 2 sequel, Gunfighter 2, and I have it coming, but I don't have it at the moment, so I purchased that one and it's on its way. It is another pedal title, so one that uses the cover or the cover, what would you call that, feature, but I haven't played number 2, I've only played number 1. Thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, please shoot them through to me. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe, and I have more of these type of arcade videos coming up, and do a bunch of pickup videos and things like that as well.